Longtime CBS chairman and CEO Leslie Moonves was forced to resign last night. The announcement came hours after reports of at least 7 new sexual misconduct and assault allegations against Moonves. 13 women now accuse him of harassment or abuse. A source knowledgeable about the negotiations of the departure tells CBS News Moonves was offered a separation package of $80 million in stock. Jerika Duncan has more.
Anne-Marie, the CBS board says $20 million, originally part of Moonves' severance package, will now be donated to one or more organizations that support the Me Too movement. Any severance payments to be made to Moonves will depend upon the results of an independent investigation and a board evaluation. In a statement late last night, Moonves said the allegations against him are untrue and not consistent with who he is.
Exit negotiations between the CBS Board of Directors and Leslie Moonves intensified Sunday after The New Yorker published 6 more allegations of sexual misconduct against the embattled network executive. Reporter Ronan Farrow says the incidents took place between the 1980s and the early 2000s while Moonves worked at CBS and other media companies. In the 1980s, when Moonves was an executive at Lorimar Telepictures, retired television executive Phyllis Golden Gottlieb alleges he physically forced her to perform oral sex on him and years later violently threw her against a wall. After rejecting Moonves' advances, he absolutely ruined my career, she told The New Yorker.
There's a disturbing pattern of aggressive and some would say predatory behavior toward people that were clearly subservient to him.
Writer Linda Silverthorne told The New Yorker she had consensual sexual encounters with Moonves while he was a vice president at 20th Century Fox in 1984. She says she eventually ended the relationship, but 6 years later she alleges he made unwanted advances, including kissing and exposing himself to her. Silverthorne confirmed her story to CBS News and in a statement said Moonves should absolutely be fired with no severance. In a statement to The New Yorker, Moonves acknowledged 3 of the 6 encounters, but says they were consensual. Vanity Fair published its own story online Sunday. The magazine says a physician claimed a VIP patient tried to force himself on her during an appointment 19 years ago. A source told Vanity Fair the patient was Moonves. In a statement to Vanity Fair, Moonves called the allegations untrue, but says, "I tried to kiss the doctor. Nothing more happened." In a statement Sunday about the New Yorker allegations, CBS said it takes these allegations very seriously. Our board of directors is conducting a thorough investigation of these matters.
Anne-Marie, Moonves had been in a corporate battle with Sherry Redstone, a controlling shareholder in CBS through her company, National Amusements, which also owns Viacom. Now, as part of the agreement to dismiss that litigation, Redstone reaffirmed her company would not pursue a merger of CBS and Viacom for at least 2 years. CBS Chief Operating Officer Joseph Aiello is now serving as interim CEO.
Jerika Duncan, thank you. So Elahe Izadi is a pop culture writer for The Washington Post, and she joins me now from Washington. So let us get into this. Les Moonves did not leave CBS after the first round of allegations against him came out, but he's stepping down now that there are new allegations. What do you suppose the significance of that is?
That's right. I mean, after that first New Yorker article that detailed allegations from 6 women, the company announced that it would conduct an investigation, have outside law firms come in and do that investigation. But, you know, Les Moonves is a very powerful, perhaps one of the most powerful media executives, but he's not exactly a household name. So the pressure on CBS was not ramped up until the second article came out detailing more allegations in the midst of all these other business dealings happening in the background. And Les Moonves might be the very first Fortune 500 CEO to be felled during the Me Too movement. So he was very powerful in the entertainment industry, but not exactly a household name the way that someone like a Harvey Weinstein or Kevin Spacey or other people who have become embroiled in Me Too scandals.
Yeah, I want to talk a little bit more about that. But, you know, Ronan Farrow was on CNN earlier today. He's the contributing writer for The New Yorker who wrote these articles. Let's listen to what he had to say about Les Moonves' ouster.
One of the most important things about this story is this is the first Fortune 500 CEO to step down for these reasons in the Me Too era. This was someone who was supposed to be immune to criticism, that many of these women stayed quiet about for years because they thought he had complete impunity. So yes, the reluctance of this board to act in the eyes of a lot of these women, that's troubling. It shows how far we still have to go. But also, this is a story of how far we've come, because no one thought we'd be here.
So obviously, Leslie Moonves is a huge figure here at CBS for us. He's everyone's boss, essentially. But, you mentioned that outside of this industry, people might not be familiar with him. Give us a little more perspective about, the type of figure that he is and how this factors into the Me Too movement.
Les Moonves was credited with really turning around CBS and turning it into a reliable ratings powerhouse. Before he came to CBS, he was responsible for helping develop shows like ER and Friends, some of the most successful television shows in the history of TV. And coming to CBS, I mean, you can think of shows like The Big Bang Theory, Survivor, these sorts of shows, and really turning the network around and creating a real ratings powerhouse. So a lot of regular people just watching TV kind of influenced by his work on CBS and what he's done for the network. And in addition, he's been known to be, through reporting of different profiles, as someone who really values loyalty. He was viewed as untouchable because he was so powerful. And even though he's an executive and maybe average Americans don't know, he was known in the entertainment industry and at upfronts, which are these yearly events. He would come out just recently and be able to charm the crowd. And, he was known among all the players in the media industry, in the entertainment industry and TV and movies. So, this idea that he is so powerful, that's compared to someone like Harvey Weinstein, when that story came out, when Ronan Farrow's article came out, he was once very powerful, perhaps not as powerful as when this article came out. Now, Les Moonves is in the height of his career. So for him to resign in the wake of these allegations is pretty notable for the Me Too movement.
Right. So starting last week, we had heard sort of reporting that there was an exit package being negotiated in the tens of millions. We've now learned that CBS and Moonves will donate $20 million to one or more organizations that support the Me Too movement, but he's still probably going to walk away with tens of millions of dollars in severance. At least there's a possibility, pending the results of an independent investigation. Can we talk a little bit about that? What kind of reaction do you expect, if he does sort of walk away with multiple millions of dollars?
Yeah, this is something we've seen time and again when powerful media figures are ousted due to sexual harassment or misconduct allegations. If you recall Fox News' Bill O'Reilly, he walked away with, I believe, about $25 million in severance. And that's a subject of a lot of criticism. So a network might be praised for, or the individual might be praised somehow for stepping aside, but they're still walking away with tens of millions of dollars. Matt Lauer at NBC was reported to perhaps get some severance, and I don't think that ended up being the case. So that's another touchstone, another flashpoint for activists and people who are very interested in holding people accountable for these allegations, for them to criticize the network over, is this really a harsh punishment if someone's walking away with $80 million? So the story's not over yet. People will be paying attention to that severance package.
Are these companies sort of between a rock and a hard place, though? I mean, there are employment contracts. You can't just sort of put a lighter to them and kick somebody out the door.
Yeah, that was one subject of concern when it came to Les Moonves. I believe he just recently signed a contract, and there were a lot of stipulations in there. So, that could potentially be the case. I don't know exactly the particulars of his contract and the kind of severance he's entitled to. But, it doesn't matter in the court of public opinion, right? I mean, that still doesn't look very good when someone walks away with $80 million.
Right, very true. Elahe Izadi, thank you very much.
Thank you.